I'm Kerry Peters, a recognized thought leader in the Microsoft Dynamics community and a Microsoft MVP for business applications. Welcome to the Get Your New View podcast. Keep listening to learn how we work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better business decisions, and even love their system. Welcome to Season 2 of the Get Your New View podcast. We're going to be focusing all about training in this season, but I do want to tie things in just a little bit to our first season where we talked about business process improvement. Training is actually such an important part of business process improvement for you overall that I decided to write quite a few episodes about it to share with you in the upcoming weeks. The tie-in to business process improvement is substantial. But I want to talk with you a little bit about how this happens. How does training become part of a company's business process improvement strategy? Let's first start by talking about a company who didn't invest in training as part of their software implementation project. This happens more often than you think, and unfortunately, all too often, many companies will plan for their ERP implementation, and they'll have quite a few expenses. It's not cheap to do this for your company. It's a significant investment. As you are trying to figure out what it's going to cost for software licensing, maybe you're paying for some development work, and you're trying to push a timeline as quickly as you can while letting your company absorb the amount of change that they can handle. A lot of times, people get either crunched for time or budget, or maybe even both. It is very frequent for companies to cut training and documentation, in particular, out of the project when this happens. The belief is that the software or the processes will be intuitive enough that people will just know and they'll understand how to use the system. This almost never turns out well. I have an example of a company who cut their training and they went live. They decided they would train after the fact once they had people all on the new system. They had quite a few people who were pretty panicky. They had a hard time figuring out how to do their jobs and needed a lot of additional assistance during the go-live period to be able to even process simple orders. This particular company had a main location in a major city, and then they had a warehouse that was across the country in a smaller size city. They didn't have anyone who was on site for the go-live, and what they didn't realize is that the warehouse was panicking the worst of all. They actually ended up in a situation where that warehouse did not ship anything for a month. Unfortunately, the manager there covered things up and hoped that they could just recover. They ended up in an emergency situation and had to bring in additional resources to accomplish a rescue mission for them to get them shipping product again and to make up for all of the back orders that had not been shipped. This was an incredibly ugly outcome, and lucky for them, didn't involve a failed implementation. They recovered and they went on to use the system successfully, but they had to do a lot of on-the-spot training and troubleshooting, and they lost the trust of their team for quite a while in the process. I'm betting that at some point in your career, you can share a similar story where an implementation didn't go well. But let me share with you what this should look like when it does go well. If we are going to plan for a proper level of training in a system implementation, we certainly want to engage in quite a bit of training up front. We might engage in pre-training, which for me is educating the users about the system, or at least allowing them to see the system to help make decisions in setup. Super user training, which is in-depth training for the folks in your company who are really going to be the leaders for this project. all user training, where every single person who will be using the training gets training for the things that they're going to do. And where I see even more success with this is when companies can incorporate that training prior to any testing being done. That means that everybody has been trained on how to do their jobs and what the system is like so that they can participate in testing. Testing is another really important thing that often gets cut when budgets and timelines get short. But if people can be fully trained and then accomplish testing, especially iterative testing, where maybe they're doing it for every week for quite a while, this gives them a chance to practice what they've learned as well as test the system. It's a different kind of training. It's very hands-on and real world. This particular company that I'm thinking of who engaged in these practices also had 3 mock go-lives. And they had all of their employees who had been trained and who had been involved in testing assigned to particular tasks to make sure that the mock go-live was fully vetted before they went forward. This particular company, at the end of their process, said that the go-live was easier than they thought it would be. They had full user adoption, and they started to innovate in only a couple of months, starting to optimize and use more features in the system than they had planned. They had a great result, and a lot of training, a lot of practice really assisted them in doing well with that process. Think too about how you can make training a part of your regular planning. If you're past your go live and you have been operating your system for quite a while, this can still apply to you. Refresher training is a really important part of what we can provide to our employees to help them to continue to do well with their jobs, to touch base with better practices from time to time, and to know that we're investing in them and their learning and the ability to do their jobs well. So any type of training that we can repeat on some level of frequency, whether it's quarterly or annually, is always a good investment. So here's what I'd like you to think about this week. Think about what it would look like if training were a regular part of your company's plan for improvement. Just like we accomplish projects to improve things, how could we incorporate training to improve things as well? What kind of positive things could happen if you made that decision? In our next episode, we're going to be talking about the science of adult learning. I'm Kerry Peters. Thank you for tuning in to the Get Your New View podcast. For more episodes like this on YouTube, click the subscribe button and ring the bell to ensure that you get notified whenever new content comes out. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please share an honest review on Apple Podcasts. If you are ready to rethink today for tomorrow, look for the link below and contact us to speak with our expert team. You won't find the level of no-nonsense, real-world experience we offer anywhere else, and we're here to put that experience to work for you. Do you think you could use more features of your software if you just knew how? Are you frustrated with inefficiency that never seems to get better? Did your team ever really get good training to understand how to use your business software? Do you suspect that there just has to be a better way, but you don't know what that is? We believe every company can benefit from increased efficiency and higher utilization of their software, and that it's possible to have fun while learning exactly how to do that. The experts at New View Strategies work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better business decisions, and even love their system. Please contact us at getyournewview.com to get started.